Good evening and welcome to IBA News, coming to you from Jerusalem.
Israel is continuing its policy of striking at Hamas terrorists in Gaza. 2 Hamas gunmen were killed and 2 others wounded in an overnight airstrike. The 4 terrorists were targeted while traveling in a car near the border fence adjacent to the El Baraj refugee camp. The army said the gunmen were intercepted before they could attack IDF soldiers operating on the Israeli side of the border. Hamas said that the men were members of the so-called Night Guard that patrols the border and includes activists from different factions.
Prime Minister Ehud Olmert is reviewing criteria for the release of Palestinian prisoners, including the definition of terrorist with blood on their hands. This ahead of any possible prisoner release deal in exchange for captured IDF soldier Gilad Shalit. Vice Premier Rafi Eitan said the current criteria makes a swap for Shalit nearly impossible. However, Egyptian sources said today there is no truth to reports that the two sides have renewed contacts over a possible prisoner deal.
Knesset members from across the political spectrum at the Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee reacted sharply to the changing criteria. They were speaking to IBA's Ali Wagelernter.
I think that the idea to change the criteria to release prisoners for the Hamas will be a huge mistake. It will encourage the terrorists to carry out attacks against Israelis, against innocent Israelis, and it will encourage them as well to kidnap Israeli citizens and soldiers in order to use them in a bargain in the future.
But if, for instance, they committed the crime years before the Oslo process and they sit behind bars many years, I think that those are criteria that should be taken into account.
The government is very flexible about the Palestinian Authority. 2 years ago, it was no partner and terrorist supporting authority, and suddenly Abu Mazen al-Fayyad became partner for peace, and now the government is also very flexible about murderers. Murderers are not exactly murderers.
My view is that you have to separate between those who are very dangerous for the future of Israel and those who acted in the past. The question is not blood on their hands, but the danger that they still have. If the defense system decides that there are several prisoners who do not endanger us in the future, then it is right to release them, even if in the past they were involved in very serious events.
Foreign Minister Tzipi Livni was the special guest at the Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee today. During the meeting, Livni accused the Egyptians of doing little to prevent weapons smuggling over the Philadelphia corridor. And in a thinly veiled threat, Livni said the ongoing weapons smuggling into Gaza will affect Israeli-Egyptian relations. She added that Egypt's ineffective efforts harm Israel's ability to progress in the peace process. Livni said that dramatically reducing weapons smuggling into Gaza is a top strategic objective for Israel. However, former committee chair Yuval Steinitz criticized the foreign minister for stonewalling the release of videotapes of the smuggling.
There are videotapes showing that the Egyptian troops are really assisting the smuggler to smuggle terrorists and weapons into Gaza. And those videotapes were released by the IDF and sent to Washington to be presented to the Congress. And it is a foreign minister who is preventing the Congress to see those materials. And by this, I would say that our Foreign Office is sabotaging, hiding information from congressional committees in Washington.
Staying in the Knesset and at a joint meeting this morning, the Finance and Education Committees decided to extend mandatory schooling until the 12th grade. The new law requires mandatory schooling until the age of 18 rather than the current age of 16, requiring every child in Israel to go through 12 years of education.
What we've done today is we've made a very important decision which says that every child has a right to 12 years of study in the school system, not by by the prison system or by throwing them out of the system. There is an obligation now. Every child, 12 years, will be in the system. It's very important also for new immigrants. 46% of the children who are thrown out of the schools are new immigrants. They will now be inside the education system, and we will invest in them to find them the appropriate frameworks so that they can be citizens in our society like everybody else.
Security officials today granted some 400 Gazan Christians permits to travel through Israel to Bethlehem to attend Christmas celebrations there this evening. The IDF also announced that it has been scaling back operations in the Bethlehem and outlying areas ahead of the holiday. A top officer from the Central Command said that the Army does not want to harm the tourism industry and wants to allow the Palestinians the opportunity to enjoy the holiday season. There will be coordination with the PA security forces at checkpoints leading to the city. The Israeli Tourism Ministry will hand out candy and welcome letters to Christian pilgrims. PA tourism officials in Manger Square say they're preparing for an influx of some 65,000 tourists expected to visit the traditional site of Jesus' birth. The large number of visitors is a huge jump compared to recent years. Celebrations culminate tonight with midnight mass at the Church of Nativity.
In 10 years, I think the Christmas wasn't like this year. This year is very different. We are very, very Christmas day today.
I'm very happy. I cry for this because it's the special moment in my life. It's special because I visit a place where Jesus Christ was born. And it's very special because I go in this place, in the holy place. It's very important for me because Jesus Christ is all for my life.
I find it wonderful, and it is a blessing experience for me. Maybe I have never thought I can come here. It was just like this, and I'm very happy, and honestly it comes direct to my heart.
Christians account for only a small percentage of people living today in Israel and the Palestinian Authority areas. And Bethlehem itself has experienced a dramatic decrease in its Christian population over the past several years. Here to discuss the dwindling number of Christians in the Holy Land is Professor Justice Reed Weiner of the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs. Professor Reed Weiner, thank you so much for coming in. Everyone agrees that there are fewer Christians in the Palestinian-controlled areas, but there are disagreements over the numbers. Why is it so hard to put an exact number on the number of Arab Christians?
3 reasons. 1 is politics, 2 is politics, and 3 is politics. What I mean is that there are clear questions that will have to be asked after the numbers are counted, like why did the number fall so dramatically during the Jordanian period, or why did it fall so dramatically during the post-Oslo period. And neither the Christians who are afraid of being picked upon, nor the Muslims who would have to answer those questions, neither is keen to face that. And there's never been a real census here, so nobody knows for sure. But I think you can say that everyone's in agreement that both in absolute numbers and as a percentage of the population, the fall has been precipitous. I can give you some estimates, but that's all they are.
Justice, at one time Christians made up a majority of the residents of Bethlehem. There's been a dramatic decrease, of course, in those numbers since the town came under the control of the Palestinian Authority. What remains of the Christian community there?
It's really a shadow of its former self. It's very sad. You have Christian institutions that are almost they've almost lost their viability. Like, is it a Christian college if 80 or 90% of the students are Muslim? Is it a Christian YMCA if most of the members are Muslim? That's the reality, that Christians have left, in effect, dooming the city of Bethlehem, the birthplace of Christ and the place where the most antique of Christian artifacts are situated. It's dooming them to virtual extinction.
Are you able to put your finger on why these declining numbers? Is it economics? Is it terrorism on the part of Muslims against their Christian brothers? or is it just a chance to seek a better life elsewhere?
It's all of the above, but I would qualify that by saying that the most significant factors are, first of all, the Muslim intimidation of Christians, and secondly, the failure of the Palestinian Authority to address what was going on in the private sector. If the Palestinian Authority were functioning like a government should function, then there would still be some Christian immigration, but it wouldn't have declined as precipitously as it has.
Professor Justice Weiner from the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs, thanks so much for coming in and sharing your knowledge with IBA News.
Thank you.
Nazareth and Bethlehem are the obvious hotspots for the upcoming Christmas celebrations, but the presence of many foreign workers in Tel Aviv has its own brand of holiday cheer, the central bus station in Tel Aviv. IBA's Jonathan Elkins explains.
Merry Christmas! Happy New Year!
No better place to get into that Christmas spirit here than the central bus station in Tel Aviv, an island of different cultures and languages, but with one purpose in mind: Christmas shopping. But among these foreign workers, not all is holiday cheer.
I'm so excited about Christmas, but the sadness moment is that I am far with my family.
Close friends here in Israel were caught by Mr. Rahagera and sent back home. Money is not enough to send to our family and had a good Christmas for this year.
This holiday fair has been going on for 10 years now. 80% of the shoppers here are actually Russian immigrants. The foreign workers can't always afford what they most desire.
Try it. It's very nice on you. Yeah, white one. Why? It brings peace. Yeah. Peace for me.
And though the workers have much to be happy about over this Christmas season, they still have one holiday wish.
For this Christmas, the only thing I wish for the government and for the Interior Office, please give us a chance and don't catch all the foreign workers. Give them a chance to be legal.
The tourism industry has experienced a record year, and it's being bolstered by the current wave of Christian visitors here for Christmas. IBA's Leah Stern brings us that story.
It's being called the most successful year for tourism in almost a decade. Some 60,000 Christian visitors are expected to arrive in Israel for the Christmas holiday, 50% more than last year.
This is, I could make it for 250.
And this stuff?
This chicken.
Following 7 years of unrest in the region, which kept large numbers away, tourists are coming back to the Holy Land in droves. And not only from the U.S.
I have a dream to stay in Jerusalem in the Christmas time, so many years.
I knew in Ukraine that it is rather dangerous here, but it was my dream from early childhood to come to here before Christmas.
You come here, you kind of feel the reverence of, the Christianity, actually walking it and feel like you're almost living it.
While all have different reasons for coming, one thing's for sure. The improved security situation here was a key factor in the increased number of tourists this season.
The security wall that's been up has been controversial, but for the most part, what we can see, it has stopped suicide bombers from coming in, so I think people have a sense of security.
Looking at the violence in the States, and especially in Pittsburgh, where I'm living, Israel is much safer, I guarantee.
The Japanese are very, very much, that's dangerous, you don't go there, you will be killed or whatever. But I personally don't feel in danger here, no.
Thank you so much for your help. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye. Bye. The Israeli tourism industry has taken a serious hit in recent years, and many in the industry say this influx of tourism is like a breath of fresh air.
Have increased occupancy. Last year at this time we were around 40%. This year 70%.
They're really becoming more friendly to the Christian world. We're opening it up and we're making it safer, happier place. They're connecting to us. It's just amazing.
One thing's for certain, there's a buzz in the air here in Jerusalem, one that hasn't been felt since before the Intifada, helping locals and visitors alike get just a little bit more into the holiday spirit.
I can feel that there's Christmas time, even though we're still small, a portion of Christians in here, but we want to have the Christmas time and Christmas feelings.
There's been a big change from 91, the Christmas of 90, and 91 to this Christmas. Everything seems to be alive and more bubbly, and people are excited, and it's a festive season.
Joining us now in the studio is David Parsons, Director of Media with the International Christian Embassy in Jerusalem. David, thanks for coming in this evening. You were here in the studio. You heard Professor Weiner talking about the declining numbers of Palestinian Christians in the Palestinian-controlled areas. Does your organization have contact with Arab Christians living under Palestinian control? And if so, what are they telling you? What's life like?
Well, we've made a special effort over the years to engage with the local Palestinian Christian community. We have a special liaison on our staff who's full-time meeting with local believers here in the Holy Land. We're giving out presents to elderly Arabs in the old city of Jerusalem this year, Christmas presents to Arab children in Bethlehem through local pastors. So we do make a special effort to reach out to them, to engage with them, and especially at Christmas.
Are organized Christian groups working to turn this trend around? The dwindling number of Christians in the Holy Land?
I think that the Christian world in general hasn't woken up to the plight of the Palestinian Christians as much as they should. It's starting to sink in all the way from liberal Christians who are more pro-Palestinian all the way over to evangelical Christians who are more pro-Israel, that the Palestinian Christian community is a realization they're caught between a conflict between Muslims and Jews here, and that they need our special attention and care to help them cope and to help reverse this trend. And I know even like the Catholic Church has pledged $600,000 one year, others are pledging different ways, coming up with ideas, but it needs to be given a lot more thought and resources.
Israel, of course, has a lot of support among Christian Zionists around the world. Many come here not just once, but numerous times to visit and show and demonstrate their support. What's it like for you as a Christian living in Israel, a Jewish homeland?
Well, it's a special privilege to be called here and to work with the ministry that I do and many other Christians here in the land that come from abroad, expatriates. There's a real quality to the folks that God has called here. And especially at this time of year, we miss our families back home, but we don't miss so much the commercialization of Christmas. We're in the land where the birth of Christ happened, where the whole biblical narrative happened. The Bible becomes like a pop-up book for us. And so we get a lot closer to the true story. He was born in the back of a cave and not some wooden stable, things like this.
David, we at IBA News know that we have many thousands of Christian viewers around the world. What is your message to them on this Christmas Eve?
Well, I think there's a message that it is safe to the land. You heard it from some of these pilgrims. It's safe to visit. Come to Bethlehem. The pilgrimage to Israel has picked up since the Intifada law, the downturn in tourism. It's picked back up. It's just starting to turn around in Bethlehem. And both Israel and the Palestinian Authority are trying to keep that door open, make it safe for Christians, and please come.
David Parsons, the International Christian Embassy is now in its 28th year of operation here in Israel. And we'd just like to take this opportunity to say Merry Christmas to you, David, and to the entire staff and that huge group of volunteers you have working.
Thank you, Yochanan and Laura.
Thank you for being with us.
Well, it's close to the Holy Land, but it's a long way from home. That's the feeling of some Spanish soldiers serving with the United Nations UNIFIL forces in southern Lebanon. UN troops led the singing during a Christmas service attended by area residents today, and some of the soldiers helped distribute gifts to children in several local villages.
One part
I'm a little sad because my family is in Spain. But now we are working for my country, and I'm very glad, I'm very happy to work for these people in Lebanon.
I feel very good to have the people here and to keep the peace.
In New Zealand, it's a case of Santas gone wild. A gang of about 50 drunk Santa Clauses rampaged through a cinema complex. These inebriated St. Nicholases were anything but saints as they ran through the area shouting obscenities, ripping down posters, scaring children, and setting off a fire alarm. And where did all of this not-so-merry mayhem take place? In Christchurch. Where else? Police believe the jolly men in red were college students who had a little too much holiday cheer. I think it was some of Grandma's eggnog, Laura. I'm not sure. Stock talk now. Share prices on the Tel Aviv exchange were mixed today. Blue chips up, high tech down. The shekel was stronger in foreign currency trading. Let's take a look at the late afternoon numbers.
Our pleasant December weather will continue with clear to partly cloudy skies and mild winter temperatures. Here are the highs and lows.
That's all for today. Leah Zinder will be here tomorrow at this same time on this same channel.
Until then, thanks for watching. Have a great evening, and shalom from Jerusalem.